he would pick an argument or a fight with me, and then he would punish my mom. So he also was an alcoholic, and whenever he would drink, he would become violent. So he would physically abuse my mom, or he would do things like, if he got upset with something I said or did, he would drive to the other side of town, and he would drop my mom off on the freeway and make her walk home. Yeah, so he would do things. Even on the day that they got married, my mom came home and she had blood on her wedding dress. They had gotten into a physical fight. So that kind of just began to destroy the relationship that I had with my mom. It began to make me feel like I was by myself. And so eventually he told my mom that he didn't like me being there and that one of us had to go. And he said either him or me. And so when I was 10 years old, my mom decided that it was best that I leave. And so I went to stay with my dad and my grandmother, because again, my dad was on drugs. He wasn't really there. And so my grandmother was 70-something years old at that time, and I stayed there kind of as, I don't know, punishment or to keep the peace or so that he wouldn't leave. And that was just rough. I mean, I'm 10 years old, I'm away from my siblings.
So did he ever try to touch you again after that?
Not sexually, not that I'm aware of, but we did have a physical altercation where it was my 10th birthday actually, and he was dropping me off at the skating ring, which is a public place. And when he dropped me off, he said that he felt like there were too many boys at the skating ring. Again, public place, there's boys and girls there, but he did not want me being around other males. And they were kids, but this is what he decided. And so once he dropped me off, he ended up telling me to come back outside, and he said, you're not being there, you just want to go and be around boys. And so it's my birthday, and he's like, I'm taking you home. So I'm starting to cry, and I'm getting upset, I'm arguing with him, and he says, you know what, I'm getting ready to get out this car, and you're getting ready to, I'm getting ready to put my hands on you. And so I knew it wasn't going to be just a whooping, but like it was going to be a fight. And so when he pulled over, I jumped out the car and took off running. And he eventually caught up with me, and when he did, he brought me back to the car, and he picked me up and slammed me down on the concrete. And he got on top of me, and he started choking me and banging my head into the ground. He took off my socks and my shoes. He said I didn't deserve to wear anything that he had bought me. And my mom was there, but she was, I think, just so traumatized that she just was sitting there, and she was just screaming and crying, but she didn't physically get him off of me. So that relationship, like I said, it really destroyed my mother and I's relationship, and eventually he became so violent. He did allow me to move back with them after a while, but he became so violent that my mom eventually decided we had to get away from him.
So how did you get from there to here?
Yeah. So at 15 years old, I gave my life to Christ. And that was my turning point.
Where did you hear?
That changes everything.
It does.
How'd you hear about him?
So I had my mom had a cousin who grew up rough the way that we did as well, but became saved and successful business person. And so my cousin Ron, cousin Nita as I call them, they took me under their wings, and I started working for cousin Ron. And one day when I came into work, he had a Bible on my desk, and I was like, okay, what do you want me to do with this? And he's like, I want you to come to church. And so he invited me to church, and I was 15 years old. And the second time I went, I mean, the first time I thought the people were crazy. I'm like, everybody's lifting their hands and singing, and I didn't know what was going on. But when I went the second time, I felt such a joy and a peace that I did not have, and a love. And I wanted to know this Jesus that everybody was singing about. And so at 15 years old, I just threw my hands up. I just surrendered, just gave my life to Christ. And so my cousins, they took me to the altar, and I received prayer. And it was just, it was beautiful. So from then on, they began to shape my outlook. They had me read books on anger and forgiveness and family dysfunction and getting in the Word. And so I said, you know what? I want to go to school for this. I want to study psychology and behavior and dysfunction and learn how families become like my family. So I went away to school. I graduated from high school when I was 16 years old and went away to college and received my bachelor's in psychology when I was 19, and then went to seminary and got my master's in clinical mental health counseling. And so that's kind of how I just, and as I learned more about trauma and more about the way that trauma impacts your thinking and your relationships, it helped me to forgive my mom, because my mom was also being traumatized. And so I held a lot of anger towards her because I felt like she didn't protect me. But what I realized was that she was also a victim as well in this. And so it helped to restore things. My family ended up getting saved, so that helped out a lot.
Yes.
Of course, my mom left that relationship. My mom's saved now, my dad's saved now. My dad has been sober for over 10 years. Wow. And so we started to rebuild these relationships.
Like what you saw? Make sure to comment and like below. Hit that subscribe button for more content uploaded weekly.